2-3 Chicago Bears here in the Windy City. It is very windy here today, which we will be curious how that's going to impact the game. We're coming to you live for the next 2 hours, all the way up until kickoff, right here on the sidelines, with guests including Ryan Fitzpatrick, Tony Boselli, Brian Robinson Jr., Montez Sweat, and, of course, London Fletcher. We do open up with Bram Weinstein joining me, as this is Command Center Game Day Live on the Washington Commanders YouTube and social media platforms, broadcasting live on our flagship Big 100 in D.C. and across the Washington Commanders radio network. Okay, Bram, so here we are. Washington coming in after an absolute heartbreaker, a gut-wrenching loss last week at home at FedEx Field, because they had their chances on the goal line, just 2 yards to be able to win the game, and they unfortunately could not convert. Red zone has been an issue for this team. Putting up points has been an issue for this team. Consistency has been an issue for this team. So here they are trying to break all of that against the Chicago Bears. And as people say on paper, this should be the team that you should beat. But we know it never goes that way.
No, but this is a real opportunity here. I mean, Chicago played 11 rookies in week one. I mean, they've totally stripped down their roster. This is a total rebuild year for them. They're going to find out if Justin Fields is their guy. At the beginning of the season, they didn't let him throw them more than 18 passes in a game. So they don't really have a passing offense. They're one of two teams that has more rush yards than pass yards. This is a team that knows what they are. They are in year one. They are starting to build. And if Washington was playing more efficiently, effectively, and converting differently, I would think, and I don't want to go too far here, but I think Washington would kill them. But because of all the things you mentioned and what you heard in our open and all the stuff with the penalties and the injuries and the miscommunications and the turnovers and the lack of getting turnovers, it's hard to see a consistent enough performance to project out that that's what should happen. But it really should if you look on paper at the two rosters going up against one another.
Now, the Bears come into this game having dropped a game to the Minnesota Vikings. However, they felt pretty good about themselves despite that being a loss. Because Justin Fields actually had kind of a relatively breakout game. Yeah. He used his arm. He passed the ball in that. So this is a quarterback that they're trying to figure out what do they have with him. Can he get in sync as well? To be able to come out here, though, for Washington to play with any form of consistency, they have to put aside a lot of distractions. Of course, This week it started off with Ron Rivera being very frustrated, and, reasonably so. He says just disappointed by the season has started, and the reason why other teams in the division, the NFC East, are ahead of Washington, and they're all kind of in certain rebuilds as well, and the Cowboys without their starting quarterback. He said the quarterback, of course, being the reason why those teams are excelling. He then apologized to the team and explained himself. How does this team, do you think, puts that aside, and how much of that will potentially have an impact on them trying to get prepared on a short week as well?
I hope nothing, really, because, he did explain himself. I agree that the way he said it, especially I heard it live, and when he said it live, it did not come off in the way that he intended, and even my eyes popped open, and I'm wondering, what does he mean by that? And then, of course, by the night, it's being circulated into the national media, and they're not putting the context on it that he intended, so it has this kind of lifespan of a couple of days. After they lost to Tennessee the other day, I actually felt like it was a good thing that they were turning around and playing very quickly, because 1-4 is not what they expected. It's not what any of us expected, but it is where they are, and you could have a whole week of festering into this, and having to turn around and talk about the next game I thought was a big deal. But they kind of made a mess again publicly in the way that they spoke. And I know what he meant. You know what he meant. He did not throw his quarterback under the bus, and it took a couple of days to come around to accountability. But I got to be honest with you, if that's what it took for everybody in the room to say that we're going to all be accountable for what's going on here, because it's everybody when you're 1-4, then that might be a good thing for all of them, even if it was just a mistake and a misspeak on his part.
Yeah, and, it is something that, of course, the entire sports world was talking about coming into this one. The best way to counteract that is to go out there and Carson Wentz say, okay, let me go win us a ball game. We know he can put up points. He's put up a lot of yards as well. He's one of the top leaders in passing yards. They have not been able to necessarily convert when they've gotten to the red zone, which has been a challenge for them and a bit frustrating as well. What does he need to do tonight to get that victory?
What's interesting about everything that happened earlier this week, I thought that might have been his best game last weekend. He played really well. He was really poised. He's the one who dealt with a lot of bad snaps. He drove them all the way down the field. I personally take issue with some of the play calling on the goal line more than the execution, really, than anything. I thought he played particularly well. He's fourth in the NFL in passing yards. I'm not really sure how much more you can really ask of him other than the fact that he is going to make mistakes like all quarterbacks do. I think tonight, really, though, I think you probably agree with this. This is about the run game. Chicago cannot stop the run game. Brian Robinson's going to start. I'm going to assume he's going to get a healthy number of carries. You can go to Antonio Gibson for a healthy number of carries. They have an opportunity to really run the ball, and you can hear it, like what's going on here right now. It's no exaggeration what the weather is. I don't know how you're throwing in this effectively either side. So hopefully this team runs the ball really well. Less turnovers. Maybe get one for the first time in a month, you know?
Yeah, they've only had one on the season, the worst in the league. They're going to have to do it without Logan Thomas, without Jahan Dotson. And, again, offensive line issues. The injuries overcoming that real quickly here as we go to break.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens with center again. There were some mistakes a week ago. Sadiq Charles seems to kind of be implanted at right guard. We're waiting for Wes Schweitzer to come back, and when he does, I think there's going to be some questions about that. But certainly that has been, I think, the issue of the offense here for the first 5 weeks. And if they can settle that down, this is, again, another team that gets run on effectively. They should have a better night than they've had. There should not be as many mistakes up front. And if there's not, I like that I like the chances we're going to get a better outcome than we've gotten the last few weeks.
I will take all the optimism that you can bring tonight because I feel like we need to project some of that positive energy.
Yeah.
By the way, we were watching Ryan Fitzpatrick. He's talking right now with Carson Wentz on the field, but he was throwing some passes with Taylor Heineke earlier as well. We'll have Ryan Fitzpatrick coming up in the show in a little bit as well. The injury report is presented by Optima Health Plan, a health plan you can count on. Coming up, Hall of Famer Tony Boselli is standing by. He's on the national radio call tonight for Westwood One. We will find out if the game's all-time greats can help us figure out Washington's offensive line problem. You are watching Command Center Game Day Live on the Washington Commanders YouTube and social media platforms, and you are listening to Washington Commanders football. Time now for your player profile, brought to you by Pepsi, official soft drink of the Washington Commanders.
Thing is, trust your abilities. Trust the process. Be deep. Detailed in everything you do, man, and go play. All right, you guys got me? Here we go, 8.
Hey, man. Hey, let's play balls to the wall, like JD said, man. The whole day, bro. Let's impose our will on these dudes, man. RBs on 3, 1, 2, 3, RBs.
Boy, you got an amazing story, boy.
Yeah. Hey. Oh, look at you run. Let's go, bro. Let's go, we back. We back. Let's go. We back. Next.
It's 4th down, seconds on the clock. He hands it off, finds a hole in the middle. Clear, nothing but Brian moves. Incredible. A touchdown for the win. I can't believe it.
Pizza, better with Pepsi.
You ever wonder why people are always on their phones? They're banking with Bank of America. Look at this guy. He bought those tickets on his credit card and he's racking up the rewards.
She's using Zelle to pay him back for the hot dogs he's about to buy.
That's going to bring it to
And
a
the
close here
announcer?
after 3.
He's not checking the stats. He's finding some investment ideas with Merrill.
And third, as you know, in baseball means 3.
Digital tools so impressive, you just can't stop banking. What would you like the power to do?
Finding the Honda you really want just got easier. With a longer limited warranty, so long. And complimentary oil changes within the first year. You've never been more at peace than with Honda Certified Pre-Owned.
Well, my baby doll gives me special love. It's the kind of stuff.
Honey, it's your turn.
pizza. Better with Pepsi.
Legends today, Tony Boselli, the second overall pick in the 1995 NFL Draft, went to make All-Pro 3 times, Pro Bowl 5 times in 7 years in the NFL, all with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Washington's one lone win on the season here. He's going to be on the national call for tonight's game for Westwood One Radio with Ian Eagle, and he joins me now. Glad to have you here with us. We are talking, I'm actually from Jacksonville. This weather's a little bit differently than Florida is for us. How is it going for you calling the games and being here at Soldier Field?
It's good, but it's miserably cold. And I know the people in Chicago are saying this isn't that bad. For a Florida boy, it is.
Yeah, I agree with you. That's why I've got like 5 coats on right now. Let's get to this game. I'm curious as to, there are so many different storylines coming into this. And most of it all being right around Carson Wentz, the quarterback coming in. We understand how important that position is to a team. What is the challenge for Carson coming in and having to learn a new system and the timing that it takes to be able to have that success?
Well, I mean, I think anytime you get into a new system, it's obviously the verbiage and understanding the philosophy and what the offensive coordinator wants to do. But then you have to get on the same page as your receivers and understanding that, get comfortable with your offensive line. And so it's a whole process. And with the limited training camps that we have nowadays because of the CBA and everything else, you have limited reps. And so sometimes it takes a little bit longer. And you would hope that would be quicker because Carson is a veteran. He's been around. This is not his first rodeo, third team in the NFL. So, but all the pressure is going to be on him. And I think it probably intensifies this week a little bit with the comments of Coach Ron Rivera. And I know they cleaned that up. But you're in the spotlight. But that's what you sign up for when you're a franchise quarterback.
We've heard some of the players, like John Allen, most notably saying, this is what we're paid for. This is what we do. We have to put it all aside and go and play. And Carson's been the consummate pro since she has come here. And, of course, is continuing to be that. There really is no other choice in this situation. It's still very young in the season. One of the biggest reasons he's having challenges is the offensive line continues to shuffle. You're one of the best to play on a line. When you look at Washington, what are you seeing with what they're having to deal with?
Well, I mean, you talk about some of the musical chairs because of injuries, which happens in this league, and you just hope that you can keep those low as possible. And for the offensive line, so it's so critical because of the continuity and making sure you're communicating on the same page, and then obviously talent level. And I think, last week it wasn't terrible. I mean, Andrew Norwell struggled for a bit of that game, had a couple bad sacks and penalties. But, the Eagles game, they really were overwhelmed, made it really tough for Carson Wentz. So it's a group that just has to get together. They're very well coached. I know John Matsko well. He actually coached me at USC. He's one of the best offensive line coaches. And so you just hope that they can get it together. And hopefully some of these young guys who have been backups are having to play now, get in a rhythm, get comfortable. And because a lot of it is just confidence too. And be able to have that confidence go out there that you can get the job done.
They continue to rotate at center as well, and maybe Tyler Larson might be coming out here again, which would be yet another player coming in under center. And we saw last week Carson having to get a couple of snaps that were really low or off. Do we underestimate the value of that position to a quarterback?
Well, I mean, not if you're in the offensive line room.
You understand.
You understand it and I think the quarterback understands it. And by the way, so does the running backs and everyone else, because that's the quarterback of the offensive line, and he is identifying the front and identifying who the Mike linebacker is, changing that based on the protection and what they're seeing. It has to be in sync with Carson Wentz, because him and Carson have to be seeing the same thing in constant communication, especially on the road where you're going to have crowd noise and it's harder to communicate. So changing that guy out, I think that's one of the toughest things to do, because he's kind of the glue in the middle there of sending and communicating the calls down the line of scrimmage.
Now, the Bears don't necessarily have a very aggressive rush to pass attack. They're getting after the quarterback. They put one of the least pressures on the QB. They don't blitz necessarily a lot. What will they be facing for this?
Well, I mean, I think Robert Quinn's probably their best pass rusher, and he's getting up there, and he's been around for a long time.
I think he's 102 clear sacks.
Yeah, but he's not the player he once was, where he was one of the more dominant pass rushers in the NFL. So this could be a great opportunity for this Commanders team and this offensive line to get some confidence, because you don't have that premier pass rusher over there that can dominate and mess up an entire game. So keep a clean pocket, because when Carson has had time and he's operated pretty well and you got weapons outside on that Commanders offense, this could be the game, a little bit of a get-well game and a confidence builder for the offensive line.
We know Washington certainly could use that. Many folks are saying if this team goes 1-5 to start this season, there's going to be some very difficult conversations that are probably already being had or thought about. What does that mean, do you think, for Coach Rivera and what he's looking at for the rest of the season on how important a win tonight would be?
Well, Ron Rivera's been around a long time. I mean, this is, he's been a player, he's been a coach. He understands that at the end of the day it's about winning football games. And right now at 1-4, they're not doing that. And so the pressure's on. I don't think it will impact him or affect him because he's been around so long. But the reality is that they got to find a way to win a football game. And tonight is, you hate to say must win just this early in the season, but it might be a must win for them, especially in the NFC East, which, the last couple of years has not been a very good division. You have the Eagles at 5-0, you have the Giants at 4-1, and you have the Cowboys at 4-1. And you're looking up and saying, boy, we better get going here right now on Thursday night against this team who has its own struggles. The Bears have their own issues. And if you lose this one, boy, it could get ugly in that building and ugly in the locker room.
Their head coach Ron Rivera says he's not pressing the panic button just yet, but he can't afford to, as the head coach, go into that mode. But the players certainly are feeling it. They know their record, and they understand you're as good as your record is, and right now it's not very good. So maybe tonight is that get-right game. Give us a little glimmer of hope for the season that not all is lost. Tony Boselli, thanks so much for joining us. I know from a Florida girl or Florida guy down there, nice braving out this weather.
Well, it's always good to do a segment with a fellow Jacksonville native, and I guess I'm not a native. You are.
You might as well be now.
Yeah, I've been there long enough. I've been there long enough, so
yeah.
Thanks for having me.
My mom came up to the Jacksonville Jaguars game, and she had turquoise hair. I said, no chance I'm getting her Commanders gear. She was Jags all in all day.
Tell your mom I love her.
Yeah, thanks so much for joining. She's watching right now. Coming up, though, we're going to go to quarterback Ryan Fitzpatrick. He was Washington's starting QB in 2021, well, for half a game at least. He is part of Amazon's Thursday night broadcast crew, and he's joining me next. You're watching Command Center Game Day live on the Washington Commanders YouTube and social media platforms, and this is Washington Commanders Football Radio Network.
Dude, fire. Grill master, huh?
Burgers, better with Pepsi.
We'll make a new bet around every 2 seconds. Not only on the game, but on the game of life. Betting that love is just a swipe away. Betting on picking up that curious hitchhiker carrying a bowling bag. And betting that he doesn't turn out to be a cornhole prodigy. Every moment in life is a bet. But life doesn't offer you up to $1,000 back in free bets if you don't win. So bet on America's #1 sportsbook, FanDuel. And make every moment more.
Finding the Honda you really want just got easier. With a longer limited warranty, so long. And complimentary oil changes within the first year. You've never been more at peace than with Honda Certified Pre-Owned.
Washington Commanders football is back, and so is our BOGO. On game day, buy 1 large pizza and get a 2nd large pizza for free. Order online or download the app today. Paisanos, official pizza partner of the Washington Commanders.
London was the guy that I always looked at as, like, if I had to have a big brother, you know what I mean? Like, when I was playing here, he was looked at as the big brother on the team. Like, I can look at London. I ain't have to say nothing to I wanted to make sure big brother ain't have to come and say nothing to me. I'm going to handle my business. But I also was a guy that got a lot of respect from just being the guy that's go about my business the way I do and handle my business. When I'm watching you guys, I feel like you that guy. You fit that slot. Now, I told you that the day we was walking. That's when I came out to you and I said something to you because I respect, most players is going to come holler at you, especially when I was a player playing. You get the respect from your peers by showing up, doing your job. I'm an outside guy now, watching you guys. And every time your number called, you're doing your job. You go over and beyond doing your job. So that's why I had to come and holler at you. When it comes to, because I'm sure these guys feel the same way, when it comes to having that kind of notoriety from your peers and being that OG, because you're kind of OG now. You done been in the league long enough. So I'm sure these guys looking up to you. How do you feel about taking on that kind of role? You know,
I feel cool about it. I'm not much of a guy who would get in front of the team and speak though.
Yeah, me either. I wasn't that guy either.
Yeah, so it's cool. I just understand that every day I go on the field, I gotta work my butt off. So because these guys watching, I can't go out there lacking because they may do it too. Yeah. You know, I don't want them to think that this is the right thing to do. Yeah. So I go out there, I try to just put the work in, man, knowing that they watching, man, and you know, just if everybody working hard like that, man, we got some good going forward. Mm-hmm.
One half of football for Washington, unfortunately injuring his hip back in 2021, but started at quarterback for 9 different teams over 17 NFL seasons. Does it feel like that as Ryan Fitzpatrick now joins me and is now with Thursday Night Football? Glad to have you here. Are you enjoying this side, I guess, of the game?
I am. It's been a lot of fun. And I hate it. I hate that I think I made it 16 plays before getting hurt, which was a huge bummer. I was very excited to be part of the squad, but that kind of gave me a look into retirement and what it would be like on this side. And I've really enjoyed it. I've got a great team over at Amazon of people I just get to talk football with, and we're having a lot of fun with it right now.
So we're talking football tonight about Washington going up against Chicago. And look, a lot of things in this league, as you understand, they start and end with the quarterback. And of course, this week, there's a lot of talk about that, about the position in particular. And you understand the challenge of having security at that position and coming into a new team and learning a new offense. When you are a quarterback like Carson Wentz coming into Washington, what is the timing on kind of understanding the scheme and fitting in to be successful?
Well, he's a veteran guy. This isn't his first system. This isn't the first time he's had to change and pick up a system. So that should start happening a little bit faster for him than maybe, say, a rookie coming in, or even Justin Fields, who hasn't been at it for very long, that has a new coordinator. So for Carson, it's an offense that fits him. It's a down-the-field offense. He does some great stuff. It's just consistency with him and having, to do it all the time the right way and not make some of those catastrophic mistakes. So it's up and down with him a lot of the time. If he gets more consistent, which I could never figure out the answer to that one myself, then we're looking forward to seeing bigger and better things in Washington.
It's always easier to talk about it on this side than actually go out and execute it. But one of the things they also said is you have to really build around the quarterback as well. And those were some of what Ron Rivera was saying this week. They did go get weapons for him. You saw the addition of Jahan Dotson, Curtis Samuel, of him healthy out there, Terry McLaurin. What do you make of the weapons that they have? Do they have what they need to be successful?
Yeah, when you go into situations, sometimes you feel a little bit helpless by the surrounding talent. But if you look at Washington, you look at their running back room, you look at Logan Thomas and the player that he's developed into as a tight end, and then when you look at this receiving crew, they've got some guys that can really go and get it. And when you have subs like De'Ami Brown stepping up and going in and scoring 75-yard touchdowns, you know that you're deep at that position. So the talent is there. To me, part of it also is they've got to get better and more consistent on defense.
Well, let me also go now to the offensive line before we do go over to defense. We know that they've struggled. I mean, Carson Wentz has been sacked, more times than he'd like to admit, 20 times so far. I think that's second most in the league. When you have the players that you have, and you have them constantly adjusting on the line, and you're going through yet another center again, what can they do with the unit that they have to try and help themselves out there? Or is it what it is?
It's tough because there's no hiding it either. So once you have some injuries, once you show that you have some holes and deficiencies in the offensive line, every week people are going to look to exploit that. And so for them, Brandon Sheriff not being here anymore, Chase Rouillet going down with the injury early, they're really shuffling and trying to figure out that right formula. And Carson would be the first one to admit when you get sacked 9 times in a game,
gets in your head.
Some of that is quarterback, some of that is scheme. It's a mixture of blame for everybody. So, they've got to know that they're having some issues up front and do some things to help those guys out, which would be running the ball and getting the ball out of your hands.
Tonight would be a good night to run the ball, knowing that the Bears give up 170 yards on the ground. Brian Robinson returning. What a story that has been. It could be a really good breakout game for him. You did mention defense. They do a lot of good things on defense, but one of the areas that has been a bit of a weakness and Achilles heel for them has been giving up those explosive plays. What are you anticipating tonight?
Yeah, I mean, if I'm looking at Chicago's offense, you have to stop the run, and you've got to turn Justin Fields into a passer. I mean, you have to make him play from the pocket because he's a dynamic playmaker in terms of his running ability. he does a good job of throwing the ball down the field when he takes the shots, but if you can keep him in the pocket and make him a pocket passer, they're going to have a lot of success tonight.
To do that, to have that success, that would mean that Washington would walk out with the victory after a 4-game losing streak. You're on this team, let's say it's 1-4. What is the mindset? And what does it take to try and snap and get out of that, to not feel like the season's already at a loss so early on?
Yeah, I mean, this is a huge game for them. And I think even just seeing somebody like Jonathan Allen talk about it and some of his quotes about how important it is, you don't see a whole lot of 1-5 teams at the end of the year that are successful. So I know that the feeling in that locker room is this is a must-win for them. They've got to come out here and take it. And, look, it's going to be tough conditions with the wind maybe, and you've got a team that's –
What wind?
Yeah, exactly. I had to catch you a minute ago, yes.
Yeah.
But, two teams that are really trying to get things back on track. So it's going to be a struggle for both teams tonight, but hopefully, the Commanders can pull it out.
And then the distractions. I feel like it's kind of endless for this franchise as well. How does that locker room block out all of that extra noise?
Yeah, I mean, the two main distractions, the one with Daniel Snyder, I don't know that is in the locker room at all. But the one with the, what's the issue? Quarterback is the issue. That one is something that's going to have a ripple effect through the locker room. So Coach Rivera, the bonus for him, are we still hearing me or no?
Yeah.
Yes? Okay, good. The bonus for Coach Rivera is that he's been a player in the locker room. And so he understands the inner workings of it and how important it is to get out in front of some of these things. He said something, he owned it, said, look, this is not what I meant, but he had to make sure that the players knew that and it didn't go further than what it was. And I think he did a good job in handling that situation. As a player in the locker room, when you hear that, is it something you say, okay, we get it, we have clarification and it's a non-issue now, or can it linger? No, I think it lingers. For me, if I'm Carson, I think, I'm going to say the right things in the media, but in the back of my mind, I'm like, well, okay, these guys brought me here, but they already, don't believe in me after 5 games, and that'll be in the back of his head a little bit, I think. Not something you can really take back all the way, but you just, winning cures all in the NFL. I was just about to say the best way to counteract that is to go out there and get the victory, close in the red zone, put up points, which is something they've struggled to do this season, and hopefully it starts here tonight on Thursday Night Football. I'm getting blown away here in my win, but your beard didn't even move. I don't know how you did that. Nice to see you still kept it. Ryan Fitzpatrick, thanks so much for joining us here. Thank you. Coming up, our play-by-play broadcaster, Bram Weinstein, rejoins us as we're under an hour to kick off here at Soldier Field. You're watching Command Center Game Day live on the Washington Commanders YouTube and social media platforms, and you are listening to Washington Commanders football. Time now for your Fresh Takes, brought to you by Safeway, the official supermarket of the Washington Commanders. Santana Moss, London Fletcher, and it is time now for our Fresh Takes. Okay, London, I'm going to let you rock with this one first.
A fresh take. Let's start off with a takeaway. I would love to see us get another takeaway or multiple takeaways. We haven't had a takeaway since the opening game of the season against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Man, that was such a long time ago. Yeah. So that's what I want to see.
That was my fresh take.
I stole your fresh take?
No, you got it. It's necessary. We need it. We've been calling for it. And here's the thing. Justin Fields, he's known to fumble the ball. Yeah. I think last week was the first time he didn't throw an INT, but he tends to give it away as well. All right, Tana.
Mine's going to be simple. My fresh take was we would see a more efficient offensive style of football being played this Thursday night by our team. I think week 1 was when we seen these guys be able to do it both. They didn't have to, rely on the run as much, but in the passing game, they moved the ball up and down the field. We're going to go back to that style of play, but we're going to see a better run performance because we have our 3-headed monster in the backfield.
Know what, I'm going to give you another take since I stole yours. How about eliminate the penalties? Yes. 20 penalties in the last 2 ball games. The penalties have absolutely killed us. Let's eliminate the penalties. Yeah. Maybe 2 or 3 penalties. Let's get it back down to that number.
I mean, we're tired of saying you're going up against the opposing team and yourself at the same time. And it feels like that's what they've been doing the past few weeks with so many penalties. It's could have been very winnable games had they not marched backwards down the field with that attention to detail. Keep your head in the game. And, hey, we'll come out with a victory and snap this streak.
From selecting the perfect produce and triple checking its quality to preparing it for you, we have perfected the art of fresh.
This is Maya Titan. She's smiling because her small culinary supply store, Titan's Pans, is up and running. And this is NFL star Derrick Henry, accidentally tagging Titan's Pans instead of his loyal fans. Which, very unexpectedly, has her business trending. And trending, and trending, and oh my. And there goes the internet. Good thing Maya uses FedEx to help prepare for unexpected demand. Because you never know what's next.
Donaldson.
And we are brought to you by RTS, a better waste company. Find out more at RTS.com. London Fletcher joins me now. Bram Weinstein will be coming up a little bit later as well. London, it is a short week. It was just 5 days ago that Washington, for one, played a game, lost a game, needs to process, digest, watch the film, get their bodies right before they come out here now in Chicago just 5 days later. What are the biggest challenges on a short week? Probably just mentally and physically getting ready.
More physically than mentally. You know, you'll have your opportunities to go through your film, evaluate Chicago, go through your walkthroughs and things like that. But it's more about getting your body ready to play on the short week. It was a very physical game against Tennessee in this past ball game on Sunday, but also the travel aspect of it. You had to travel here, so that's a little less time you have to rest, get off your feet, things like that. So it's more about getting yourself physically ready to play on a short week.
Physically, yes, as a lot of them say, typically their bodies don't feel good until maybe Friday or Saturday
or Sunday
game.
Sunday when I was finishing up my last season.
They don't have that time. And then mentally, sometimes they say a short week coming off of a loss like they did have last week, it can be good. And we've heard many of them say this week, the players saying it can kind of get the bad taste out of your mouth because you don't have too much time to linger over the gut-wrenching loss that was. But meanwhile, in that time, there's also been a lot of different distraction this team's had to deal with. How much of that kind of trickles into a locker room, and how do you not let it?
Well, earlier in the week, obviously we had some conversations or distraction about what Coach Rivera said. But what he did, he got in front of it, and he addressed it to his team right away on Tuesday. So that stuff is behind us, behind the guys, and they've been able to focus on, the task at hand, which is coming out here and playing a Chicago Bears team that they're hungry for a win also. So early in the week, it was a distraction, but once you got past it, once Coach addressed it, it was no longer an issue.
So quarterback is important. That's one of the things Coach was saying is you have to have the quarterback, you have to have the players around them, you have to have the right scheme, and you have to have the right timing for everything to work, and that is what winning teams have.
Yes.
But this team has now lost 4 games in a row. Can you, in your mind, where is the biggest problem for this team of why that they have not been able to finish games?
Well, I don't think we've been consistent enough making enough plays when the situation calls for it. There's been a lot of areas where, whether it's on the defensive side of the ball, not making a stop when you get in position to, have a team backed up, or you need to get off the field on the third down. Even if you go back to the game against the Titans last week, there were opportunities, defensively where they could have made some plays and, probably led to us winning that ball game. The penalties have been a major issue, 20 penalties in the last 2 ball games. The offensive line hasn't been great at all times, and quarterback, Carson has had his struggles at points and times, and defensively we've given up too many explosive plays. So it's a lot of areas that you have to touch on when you look at it and say this is the reason why we're at 1-4 right now.
That's why it's a team sport, not an individual
it
sport, right?
Is.
And to be able to have all 3 facets of the games, even special teams well,
yes.
On the same page, it's one of the most difficult things to do, which is why getting to the Super Bowl is considered the greatest accomplishment in all of sports that there is. Where's the light at the end of the tunnel for us here?
The light at the end of the tunnel was hopefully coming out of this ball game with a win. You really have to
just focus on the game that's in front of you. You can't look too far ahead and say, okay, we're here. We only got, one win. You just win this ball game, and let's see where the chips may fall next week when we play the Packers. But right now, you just focus on the Detroit. The Chicago Bears. I need to stay focused. You focus on the Chicago Bears and then go from there.
Washington has won their last 3 trips to Chicago. The last time they lost in Chicago was back in 2003. Carson Wentz is 3-0 against Chicago. He is also 6-0 on Thursday night football games.
Nice to know.
Could make it a streak of 7 straight wins on Thursday night football. What needs to happen tonight for that victory to take place?
Well, I think we need to be able to establish our running game, have to be able to run it better than we did last week. Carson needs to obviously make some plays in the passing game when they present themselves. Eliminate having so many penalties. We cannot have those type of errors. 9 penalties last week, 11 2 weeks ago. The penalties have to come down, and no explosive plays allowed defensively. And it wouldn't hurt to get a turnover or two.
A turnover or two, says the guy that's pretty good at taking the ball away, London. I see you out there talking with the players, with some of the coaches, whispering there a little something to get things going here in Chicago, the Windy City. Coming up, Bears sideline reporter Mark Grody gives us a report on the Chicago Bears here. You're watching Command Center Game Day live on the Washington Commanders YouTube and social media platforms, and this is the Washington Commanders football radio network.
We'll make a new bet around every 2 seconds. Not only on the game, but on the game of life. Betting that love is just a swipe away. Betting on picking up that curious hitchhiker carrying a bowling bag. And betting that he doesn't turn out to be a cornhole prodigy. Every moment in life is a bet, but life doesn't offer you up to $1,000 back in free bets if you don't win. So bet on America's #1 sportsbook, FanDuel, and make every moment more.
Toyota is the #1 selling retail brand in America, thanks to a steady supply of new vehicles, which means faster delivery to you. And now with special financing options. Choose an electrified 40 MPG RAV4 hybrid, right now with low 2.49% APR. Or take 2.49% financing on an efficient 36 MPG Highlander. Visit your Toyota dealer and reserve yours today. Toyota, let's go places.
Cool. I pick hard first, so you go first.
All right, I go first. Is he an offensive player?
Yes. Is it an offensive player?
Yes.
All right.
Is he white?
No.
Okay.
I'm going to go ahead and jump to it. Is he a running back?
Yes.
All right.
Oh, that was a good guess, bro. All right, this next move is big for me. This next move I gotta have. Does he have a beard?
No.
Ooh, I'm close to guessing.
Is it me?
Come on, man. Come on, man. He got it. Hey, come on, man. He got it.
Official Washington Commanders pregame show. Here's Julie Donaldson.
I'm going to give this a try again. How about a deal for football season from Lido Pizza? Get an 18-inch, 2-topping Lido Pizza, 8 pieces of cheesy garlic bread, and half a pound of boneless wings for only $36.99 plus tax. This is the thing about going live is you got a lot of technical difficulties. We're with it here in the Windy City, Chicago. Mark Grody joins me now as a sideline reporter for the Chicago Bears. Okay, this is a team that everybody sits there and says Washington should come away with a victory, but Washington's been struggling with 4 straight losses. What is going on with the Bears as you have a new head coach going through, kind of a bit of a rebuild? Where would you say the state of this team is?
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt. The Bears are in the midst of a rebuild, and this season has been about developing a bunch of rookie players, starting with Justin Fields, who has been mostly down this year, quite frankly. The most previous game for the Bears at Minnesota was his best game, however. Over 200 yards, had a 118 passer rating, seemed to have a little bit better pocket presence in that game, but this whole season has been about developing him. Their third-round receiver, Velus Jones, is going to get more play tonight. Kyler Gordon, another second-round pick for the Bears, Daquan Brisker, a safety. So it is about developing young players for the Bears and filling out the rest of the roster spots because things are going to be a lot different next year for the Bears.
There's a lot of youth on the team for sure. Look, Justin Fields, we know how dangerous he is with his legs, but it seems like they've kind of limited him in even being able to pass the ball, but it seemed like he did that a little bit more last week. That gave people hope that this could be more of a complete quarterback.
Absolutely, and the big thing for Justin Fields is in college, if you followed him, his big want was always to throw downfield. That has not been part of his game so far. However, to your point, in last week's game, he had a 39-yard pass play with Darnell Mooney, the Bears' top receiver, and he had a couple of really nice throws and was able to use his legs as well. So, yeah, they are working on turning him into a passer. And, the Bears have been very successful running the football this year. But, in Chicago, we've had a lot of that throughout the history. A lot of great defenses, a lot of great running backs. Not a lot of great quarterbacks. So even though they're fifth, carrying the ball this year, 31st in the passing game ain't going to cut it.
Yeah, I was hearing how Chicago really hasn't ever had that real franchise-dominant quarterback. Meanwhile, Washington's only like 4 passing touchdowns away from 3,000 all-time, which would be the 6th franchise ever to do that. Talking about the history of the quarterbacks there. But your team runs well. You have Montgomery's well and Fields being able to run the ball. But the challenge, I feel like, for Chicago is you can't stop the run. Should it be a big day for Washington and the return of Brian Robinson Jr., Antonio Gibson, J.D. McKissick?
It's so funny how the two franchises and fan bases and media are looking at each other because you opened it by saying, hey, Washington should look at this game and say, hey, the Bears or Washington can get their second win this year. Well, guess what? The Bears are looking at Washington and saying, hey, the Bears can get back to 500. Right. That's a winnable game. And so that's my long-winded way of answering your question about the running game. The Bears also look at this game as, hey, 31st against the rush. Maybe this is our chance, the Bears' chance, to get that defense going. But they have not shown me a reason that they're going to be effective at stopping the run. So it very well could be that Washington has it. But just so you know what sort of the mindset is from the Bears, that they look at this as a get-well game for them as well.
Some of the teams will be having that get well, get right, feeling good about themselves at the end of it. An issue for Washington this season has been sacks. 20 times Carson Wentz has gone down. Do you have the pass rush that can cause problems there?
Robert Quinn has had a slow start. 17.5 or was it 18.5 sacks last year. Set the Bears' single season record for sacks, and he has been pretty non-existent the last couple of games. They have another guy who's in his 3rd year named Travis Gibson, who has had a couple of nice games, but teams have done a pretty good job of neutralizing him. And then a rookie that they're developing as well, Dominic Robinson, who's an interesting story because he's a converted wide receiver. He was a wide receiver in college, and now they got him out there going after the quarterback. So the Bears have had a rough go at getting to the quarterback recently, so that's another thing that they want to break through on.
Washington has had 18 explosive plays because we've got explosive playmakers and the quarterback that can just throw that ball down the field. I know your secondary is a little young, but you also might be, getting a return to the secondary as well?
Yes, Jalen Johnson, who is by far the Bears' best cornerback, will play tonight, is expected to play. I haven't seen the official injury report yet, but the assumption is that he will play tonight. Kendall Vildor, now in his third year, has been pretty good. The weak spot so far in the Bears secondary, the second rounder, Kyler Gordon, who teams had, and you'll see it again tonight. I'd be shocked if Washington wasn't picking on the rookie Kyler Gordon, because every opponent so far in that vicinity, to the point where actually Jalen Johnson is kind of like, hey, somebody throw my way. He's only had like 3 opportunities to like defend passes this year, and obviously he's been out for a while. But yeah, he's a huge part. But they're probably their best player in the secondary, him and Eddie Jackson.
And the rookie's like kind of a little bit in the center, so maybe it'll be a good day for Curtis Samuel.
It could be.
To outshift, and we've seen how Curtis can make those extra little moves and get some extra.
Yeah, well, Justin Jefferson and he's a different level than all these guys. Well, maybe Terry McLaurin is possibly, it could be closer to that category of Justin Jefferson, but Jefferson had an absolute field day, and Kirk Cousins, for that matter, in the first half. Well, that's one of the things about the Bears is they have had terribly slow starts. They've been a good team, a good adjusting team, good team in the second half, but they can't afford all these slow starts that they've been having.
Washington has had slow starts too, but I have seen the Bears have outscored their opponents in the second half. Both teams will as well. Here are the inactives for the Bears. It's Keneal Harry, your wide receiver, yet to get out there. Kingsley Jonathan, defensive line. Cornerback Lamar Jackson. Tight end Jake Tongs. For Washington, Percy Butler is out. Sam Cosmi, of course, he's dealing with a hand injury. Wide receiver Jahan Dotson with a hamstring. Cornerback William Jackson III is not playing. Tight end Logan Thomas. Running back Jonathan Williams. And, of course, Sam Howell. So there are your inactives. The inactive report is presented by Optima Health Plan, a health plan you can count on. Thank you so much. Appreciate you coming by, Mark.
My pleasure. Good luck to the Washington Commanders tonight.
Yeah, as to you as well. Now, coming up, Montez Sweat recorded his first sacks of the season, his third career game with multiple sacks. How does he plan to follow that up tonight? His conversation with London Fletcher when we return. You are watching Command Center Game Day Live on the Washington Commanders YouTube and social media platforms, and you are listening to Washington Commanders Football.
Veterans, you may have earned a variety of VA benefits. Did you know VA can help you further your education and pursue professional training? The Home Loan Guarantee Program can help you buy, repair, or adapt a home. VA provides housing support if you find yourself homeless or at risk of homelessness. And don't forget world-class health care. Learn more about these and other VA benefits. Visit choose.va.gov.
Finding the Honda you really want just got easier. With a longer limited warranty, so long. And complimentary oil changes within the first year. You've never been more at peace than with Honda Certified Pre-Owned.
You ever wonder why people are always on their phones? They're banking with Bank of America. Look at this guy. He bought those tickets on his credit card, and he's racking up the rewards.
She's using Zelle to pay him back for the hot dogs he's about to buy.
That's going to bring it to
And
a
the
close here
announcer?
after 3.
He's not checking the stats. He's finding some investment ideas with Merrill.
And third, as you know, in baseball means 3.
Digital tools so impressive, you just can't stop banking. What would you like the power to do?
That one right there, yeah, that was high school.
With a 71?
Yeah, dude, I was playing center. Wore the double knee braces.
In high school?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man, jeez.
I had my wrist tape.
Are you 8 years old?
Bro.
I think that was my sophomore
year. If I see
year.
you in high school,
how big
like
was
this,
the helmet?
It would be a
It was
bad day.
large, dude. You just know my neck. I got that small neck. It just makes it look twice as big.
So you're lined up. Think about the picture we just saw of Payne.
Yes.
94, about to squat the weight room. Geez, I love you to death. My money's on Payne, but take me into his eyes. 71, is it Gahanna?
Gahanna.
Gahanna,
Yep,
excuse me. 71 for Gahanna, lined up against 94 Mountaineer. Are you like something straight out of the Little Giants? Like you just start squishing your head in?
I'm not playing center, ball shaking my hand, probably a couple false starts, just
High
sweating.
effort guy.
Julie Donaldson.
Last week, Montez Sweat finally broke through and was able to get to the quarterback 2 times. He did that. He'd been waiting for it, but now he wants more. So how does he follow that up? How has this season gone for him? Well, Montez has a conversation with our captain, London Fletcher. Here that is.
You're coming off your best game. You're coming off your best game of the season with 4 QB hits, 2 sacks. How did it feel to finally get to the quarterback this past weekend?
Man, it was a relief. As you know, I've been a little close, but just to finally get him down, man, finally get that sack on the board, man, it's feel good.
So, and not only did you get a sack, you got your sack on the first play of the game. Did you finally just feel a big relief off your back?
It's a huge relief, and that allows you to play more loose and just do what you want to do.
Defensively, you guys were outstanding. Getting after the quarterback last week. You sacked him 5 times, had a number of hits against Tannehill. What was the key for you guys being able to create so much pressure on Ryan Tannehill?
Really, the key was stopping the run. So if we stop the run, we get that chance to rush the passer, man. And I just think if we get the chance to actually rush the passer and actually tilt our heads back, man, we can actually do it.
As you look at this defensive line, there's a lot of guys contributing. How would you describe the depth of this defensive line group?
It's very deep, really deeper than I thought it was going to be in training camp, man. F.A., Shaka, James, all these guys is playing a huge part.
Got a big challenge going up against the Bears on Thursday Night Football. They're one of the best in the National Football League running the ball. How are you guys going to what's the approach to stopping the Bears' run offense?
I mean, just stop the run. I mean, just have everybody be gap sound, and also the quarterback is also a big part of the run game also, so we want to keep him bobbled in. So just doing our best at that.
As you mentioned, the quarterback, Justin Fields, him being part of the run game where design runs, but also are you guys going to have to make sure you're gap sound when you're rushing the quarterback, because he has been shown the ability to scramble and make plays with his legs when nothing's there?
Most definitely. That's always the emphasis when we get a running QB, just having those guys in those rush lanes, maybe holding somebody back, maybe the shadow or something like that, man. But, yeah, we just want to keep them in the pocket.
All right, last question. Coming off a short week, you got to travel to Chicago, play a Thursday night game. How do you get yourself mentally and physically prepared when you have such a short week?
I mean, you just hone in on the things that you do before the game. I mean, recovery is the biggest part, so just hone in on that.
All right, appreciate you, Tess.
No problem.
Had that ability to use his legs, run, extend the play, and we have at times see this team struggle against running quarterbacks. Although it wasn't too long ago, they just took on Jalen Hurts and the Eagles and did the best that they could to try and contain him, especially on the outside, to not have those open lanes to run to. But it is Justin Fields that actually leads this team in rushing yards. He is very, very dangerous there. Last week we saw that he actually passed the ball a little bit more, so we shall see how that goes today and how they have the ability to try and stop him. Meanwhile, a bit of an update here, quick on the offensive line. Tyler Larson will be starting at center. So once again, a change at that position for quarterback Carson Wentz. We'll see how that one goes. When we come back, London Fletcher is going to join me here at Soldier Fielders. We are ramping up for some primetime football, Commanders and Bears. You are watching Command Center Game Day Live on the Washington Commanders YouTube and social media platforms. And you are listening to Washington Commanders Football Radio Network.
Pizza, better with Pepsi. You ever wonder why people are always on their phones? They're banking with Bank of America. Look at this guy. He bought those tickets on his credit card and he's racking up the rewards.
She's using Zelle to pay him back for the hot dogs he's about to buy.
That's going to bring it to a close here after 3.
He's not checking the stats. He's finding some investment ideas with Merrill.
And third, as you know, in baseball means 3.
Digital tools so impressive, you just can't stop banking. What would you like the power to do?
Finding the Honda you really want just got easier. With a longer limited warranty, so long. And complimentary oil changes within the first year. You've never been more at peace than with Honda Certified Pre-Owned.
It's your turn.
Pizza, better with Pepsi.
So with Carson, I mean, he's a quarterback. You expect him.
Yeah, quarterbacks, they get the
tall, slender, nice,
and
pristine, tucked-in shirt. Yeah, I mean,
got the camo on.
He's exactly what you would expect.
I would say he's at that. I give him a 10 because he looks like he knows what he's doing, and I'm watching that hand up there, which is kind of barely holding, so he really knows what he's doing. So yes, I give Carson a 10.
I'll give him a 7 only because I just don't like quarterbacks. Even though I love Carson, I just can't give a quarterback a 10. So I'm gonna give him a 7, being nice.
I give him a 10. All right. Randy right here, he looked a little stressed, and he got all this black on.
From a man who does it himself, when you don't color coordinate well and pick out your clothes well, you just go all black. So for me, that's an easy way. He's taking the easy way out. You know what I mean? Out of all the colors, out of all the styles you could have wore, he chose all black. And then what he did, he tried to wear the hat
to change it up.
Yeah, just to add that little pop.
He went all black belt. He could have at least put a different color belt to just change it up, bring it up a little bit.
I'm gonna give him a 4. I don't know.
All right, we got 6 and a 4 with him.
Me again here. All right, London. Look, Washington, despite the loss, there were some things that we could take from them, but that we would want to see this team build upon, especially today here to try and snap this 4-game losing streak. They had 5 sacks last Sunday, including the first 2 of the season for Montez Sweat. You just had a conversation with him. Justin Fields, while he has the ability to try and escape the rush with his legs, he's actually been sacked 17 times. That's 4 most in the NFL. What do they need to do to try and get Justin Fields off his mark?
We'll just continue to rush the passer like we've rushed him the last couple of weeks. I love the fact that Montez Sweat finally was able to get those sacks in that ball game. He mentioned it being a big relief off of his shoulders. And get interior pressure, obviously from Jonathan Allen, Deron Payne. And I like the fact that FL Bada is coming alive. We got James Smith-Williams. He's been able to rush the passer. So we come at you in waves. Hopefully Daniel Wise will get a lot healthier and start to make it plays like he was making in the preseason before he got injured.
The big plays is really kind of hurting Washington because for all the good that they may do, limiting the running game, being able to get to the quarterback, giving up explosive plays is really costing them a lot here. And then William Jackson III, look, he ends up getting benched in the last game, says he was dealing with a back injury, and now he's not playing. And there are rumors out there that he's saying he wants to trade. He's kind of done here. What is happening with that secondary?
Well, obviously the coaches felt like it was time to make a change from William Jackson moving Benjamin St. Juste outside. We saw what he was able to do against the Eagles when he played outside. He made a lot of plays in that ball game. Rashard Wild Goose is now playing the nickel back position. He did well in the game against the Titans. Really showed up in the run game and also made some plays in the passing game. We still have to limit or eliminate the explosive plays. It's hard to win ball games when you're giving up 40, 50-yard passing plays. You don't want that on your record. We got to get that cleaned up.
What have you seen from Justin Fields where he could hurt us potentially in the passing game?
He has a deep ball threat in Darnell Mooney. Mm-hmm. He made a big play last week in their ball game against the Vikings. Showing the ability to stretch the field. And Justin Fields, I've seen him throw a beautiful deep ball when he was in college at Ohio State, and that's something that he does well. You can't give him enough time back there to sit and let Mooney get behind our defense. So don't just think, hey, this is the Bears. They can't throw the deep ball, but you got to be aware of Darnell Mooney.
If we go to the players you got to be aware of for Washington on their offense, of course, Terry McLaurin being one of those, but he's not getting as many receptions as many people would think. They're saying that they feel like they need to get him more involved into the game earlier. 19 receptions so far. Now, he is averaging 17.2 yards per reception, and that is pretty darn good in the NFL. I think it's fourth best, third highest in the league. Is it play calling? What is it to try and get Terry more?
You got to call it play calling, and sometimes the defense is gonna take things away. You got Terry as one of the most dynamic players in the league, so defense will roll coverages for him, or they may be plays designed to get him the ball, and Carson may not have enough time to get to Terry on that particular play. So it's been a lot of different things. You would love to move him around. Hey, don't just line him up outside. Move him inside in the slot. Put him in motion. Do different things to have the defense kind of try to figure out, hey, where's Terry going to line up? Don't just all the time line him up outside, because it's easier to defend a guy like that when you know where he's going to be lined up.
Converting in the red zone has been a challenge as well. They started 5 for 5, 2 for 7 since then. What's going on once they get within the 20?
It's baffling because you have so many playmakers. We got big, tall receiver. We got a Cam Sims, tall receiver. We got big tight ends. We got dynamic running backs out of the backfield. We have to figure out a way to execute better in the red zone. Come up with some different plays and creativity. I would like to see a little bit more motion. Motion forces the defense to react and communicate. It may make a guy step back and dictate some things for you and open up some passes for you. So I just want to see a little bit more creativity and really take advantage of our size in the red zone.
There's also been a lot of talk this week about the clock management for Ron Rivera. What are you seeing?
It's a situation where, go back to the Dallas game right before the half, and it seemed like right before the half, you're just like, okay, we're going to take our time. We don't want to put the ball at risk of a turnover, get sacked. All right, we run out the clock here. But then last week against the Titans, right before the halftime, I would love to see them be more aggressive, and for one reason or another, we're just not doing it.
Give us your keys here. Your keys to winning, and 2 to 3 players that need to step up tonight.
Keys to winning, we got to be able to run the football. We have to run it effectively. Whether it's, I say over 150 yards. The Bears are giving up 170 yards, but I'm saying let's get at least 150 yards rushing. Matchup between Charles Leno Jr. and Robert Quinn is one I'm going to watch. Those guys from teammates before. Robert Quinn, he doesn't have as many. He only has 1 sack coming into the season. He had 18 and a half a year ago. These guys know each other well, so I'm watching that battle. And we also have to be able to stop the Bears rushing attack. They average 57, almost 160 yards rushing per game, 5th in the National Football League. They have 2 really good running backs in Herbert and Montgomery. So we'll be challenged to stop their running attack. And also you can't forget about Justin Fields and his ability to hurt you running the ball.
They throw more screen passes than I think like any team in the league. The challenge to defending that, knowing that that's something that they're going to rely upon.
It's a situation as a defensive line, you have to be aware of it. Understand, hey, you're not that great of a pass rusher when you beat your guy right away. Feel that and retrace when you need guys running out of the stack, turning and running, chasing, getting a lot of guys to the football. We play a lot of man-to-man coverage, and oftentimes we may only have one guy, and they may have 2 or 3 blockers on that guy in coverage. So you got to have your defensive line turning and running to help defend those screens.
We shall see as well. Let me ask you here about going back again to Rivera and his comments about Carson Wentz. If you're a player in that locker room, what is your reaction when you hear that? Because pretty much when Coach just said quarterback, everybody, like even myself, I was like, whoa.
Right.
Okay. And then, he said he had to clarify what he was meaning. He had to go and talk to the team and apologize and said, that's on me. I had to do better. And this is what I actually meant by that. What is those in the locker room trying to process as they're hearing this, trying to hear the explanation and trying to go forward with the game?
Well, the thing that happened, you hear it on a Monday. And as a player, I heard it and you heard it on Monday. And so there's conversation that happens until Ron is able to address the team Tuesday morning. So for at least a day or half a day, it's the conversation guys are thinking about it. Carson all of a sudden knows about it. So you're dealing with that until Coach is able to explain, hey, this is what I really meant. And, it's past us, though. It's past those guys. It was something early in the week, but it's past us.
A lot of distractions that they do have to deal with. We've heard a lot of different players talking about you just have to put it aside. We are here to play the game. Talking about distractions, man, I feel like it's a party here going on the sidelines. I just walked around. D'Angelo Hall's coming over here. He's at the game.
We got Steve Smith Sr. over here.
We have a sweet package dancing. I mean, they are creating quite an atmosphere here on the sidelines. Of course, we'll see how that carries over when it does get to Thursday Night Football game time. Yeah. When we come back, Bram Weinstein's going to be joining us again as we're under an hour here to kick off at Soldier Field. You are watching Command Center Game Day live on the Washington Commanders YouTube and social media platforms, and you are listening to Washington Commanders football. Time now for your keys to winning, brought to you by Bank of America. What would you like the power to do? London Fletcher, Santana Moss, and look, Washington needs this victory. On paper, it should come. Santana, on paper, what are the keys to winning for this?
I think my number one key to winning on the offensive side of the ball, I need to see these guys move the ball consistently. I need to see those chains moved a little more and stamping it at the end with points. I think last week was a prime example of you can't go into the fourth quarter or any drive trying to being down. I think we was 0 for 9 at the time on third down, and we finally got a first down late in the fourth quarter on that last drive. So I need to see our team step it up in that.
I'm gonna piggyback off what Santana just said, and by moving the football, I want to see us run the ball. I want to see us run for over 150 yards. The Bears, they're giving up 170 per game. I'm not even asking for that. I'm only asking for 150 yards. I think if we can do that, that'll allow the play action pass and really allow us to dominate time of possession too on the road.
One of the places that they did struggle in the last few games is in the red zone as well. They started the season 5 for 5, but since then, is there a key when you get down to that area, Santana, to converting?
I think one of the keys is you just have to go out there and punch it in. We can sit here and say you have to do so much, but it's not that hard. I don't think you have to be a rocket scientist to play this game. All these guys have been playing for a long time. Some of these coaches have been coaching for a long time. Dial up something so these guys can punch it in.
It's a situation where it comes down to execution. Put more stress on the defense. There's things where you'll look at the plays and the play calling and go back and say, man, I wish I had done this differently. That's just kind of what happens all the time after you lose a ball game.
So simple on paper, but they have to execute. There's your keys to winning.
You ever wonder why people are always on their phones? They're banking with Bank of America. Look at this guy. He bought those tickets on his credit card and he's racking up the rewards.
She's using Zelle to pay him back for the hot dogs he's about to buy.
That's going to bring it to a close here after 3.
He's not checking the stats. He's finding some investment ideas with Merrill.
And third, as you know, in baseball means 3.
Digital tools so impressive, you just can't stop banking. What would you like the power to do?
Washington Commanders football is back, and so is our BOGO. On game day, buy 1 large pizza and get a second large pizza for free. Order online or download the app today. Paisanos, official pizza partner of the Washington Commanders.
PaisanosPizza.com. Well, my baby doll gives me special love. It's the kind of stuff.
Honey, it's your turn.
I'm on cloud 9.
Pizza, better with Pepsi.
It's loud here. We're trying to be able to make sure we can hear our cues as well. Bear with us, folks, as we're leading you up to kickoff here from Soldier Field against the Chicago Bears. Washington trying to snap a 4-game losing streak. The Bears come in 2-3. They just lost, but they thought they had a pretty good performance. I've heard on talk radio here, they're saying that it was a moral victory for the Bears, and that's the kind of season that they're in. They will take those. Washington does not want any sort of thing of moral victories. Bram Weinstein now joins me. Bram, let's go around the league and the NFL, and I want to start with the NFC East because, oh my goodness, what a turnaround it has been from when Washington won the division a few years ago, the NFC East. You have the unbeaten teams, 5-0. The Eagles remain. The Cowboys are surprising 4-1, unbeaten with Cooper Rush out there. And they're going to be facing Philadelphia here on Sunday night. What is going on, and what do you expect in that matchup?
Well, the good news is someone has to lose, so that's the good news here. This is like 2020's revenge, right? When at this point, when Washington had a slow start, Ron Rivera was saying, the division's still open for us. It's not the case right now, so they're going to need some help. They got to fix it on the field for themselves. I do like, I think going with Cooper Rush again is interesting. I think that Dallas
they're winning with them. Why would you don't need to make the change right now?
Yes, they bought some time here. The last couple of wins, against Washington and then against the Rams, it's put them in a situation where they can take their time with Dak. There's no reason to rush him back. So at 4-1, I think they're kind of playing with house money right now. And I would have to think that a reckoning is coming against Philadelphia. And I think Philadelphia loves this matchup that they don't have to deal with Dak Prescott. So I'm fully expecting Philadelphia to be 6-0, and Dallas will get Dak back when he's ready.
Meanwhile, the Giants are also surprising 4-1, coming off of a big win over the Packers in London. They host the Ravens this Sunday. How are the Giants getting this done? Because coming into the season, everybody thought the Giants would have been in the situation that Washington's in kind of right now.
I don't know. The Bears and the Giants are the only two teams that average more rush yards than pass yards in a game. So they can't move the ball effectively. They last week didn't have their top two receivers, and Sterling Shepard got hurt and is out for the year. They don't have a viable passing game at all, and yet their defense is keeping them in it. Their offense is doing just enough, and they're kind of getting by. And so it feels like at some point there has to be a course correction for them, but kind of not unlike a couple years ago when Washington was cobbling it together and their defense played maybe a little better than expected, and their offense just kind of figured it out enough that they figured out ways to just win. And you can't argue with it. Their record is what it is. Our record is what it is. You can't argue with it. So until things change, Brian Daboll's up for Coach of the Year right now.
Yeah, many are thinking that the Giants are off to this start, but is it something that can be sustainable? We'll see as the season does go on. Some are feeling like this is maybe just a little bit of a false hope for New York and the Giants there. What do you think it's going to take to win the NFC East?
So I think someone's got to be better than Philadelphia, frankly, and I think Philadelphia is just going to have to kind of come back to the pack with the start that they're off of. It's looking like it's viable that they're going to have 12 or 13 wins. That's a possibility for them. They're playing the same schedule that everyone else is, and we all agree that it's weak-ish, coming into the season. So Philadelphia is the team to catch for sure. I think they're the most balanced team of the four, and off to the start that they're off to, they can afford a misstep here or there and probably be okay. And for Washington, really, it just starts with getting wins. They just got to get themselves creeping closer. And, it will revert back to the pack a little bit. Dallas and Philadelphia are playing each other. I agree. I don't think the Giants are going to keep this up. So Washington can just right themselves a little bit. they have an opportunity to at least get back into a conversation about the playoffs.
It's kind of wild to think that they started 1-5 and won the division with 7 wins just a couple of years ago, and that is not going to happen this year to win the NFC East at all. The Raiders wide receiver, Davante Adams. What is going on with Davante Adams? Look, he's charged with a misdemeanor assault. What could that mean?
I don't know exactly. I mean, you saw the clip. He was frustrated. He's walking off the field. I have heard nobody say that he was provoked at all. The person who was down there was holding a parabolic mic, so I'm under the assumption that he had every right to be there. You know, you and I are on the field right now. A lot of people are credentialed to do their jobs. I understand he was frustrated. They're, like Washington, probably, I can't believe we're 1-4 right now. They lost a very close emotional game. He can't do what he did, though. That person had every right to be there. He cannot do what he did. How injured was this person? I don't know. This is unfortunate for the NFL. They have to deal with an assault charge and not just maybe a fine for bad actions. I'll be interested to see what happens. There was an incident with the Rams game, too, with a protester that ran on the field with a flare, and Bobby Wagner tackled him, and he also filed a police report, and I feel that that's far different. This is a trespasser. So these are two very different situations, and with Adams, I think the police are going to really look into this, and we'll just have to see how it plays out.
Pretty wild. Emotions are always very heavy and hot, especially frustrations in the league when your team is not doing well, but that does not justify certain actions at all. And for those that are trying to streak, careful. You just may be tackled by somebody that could really do some damage. That was hilarious, by the way. I watched that video over like 10 million times. Okay, so we're getting set here for Washington to take on the Commanders on Thursday Night Football. Again, Carson Wentz is 6-0 on Thursday night, 3-0 against the Bears. But the way this team is going, you would feel there's a certain amount of okay, we have to get this victory. We need it for so many reasons for this team. Are you at a point where this is a must-win for the Commanders?
No doubt. Tonight is, I thought John Allen said it best early in the week when he said, definitely it's a must-win because I don't know many 1-5 teams that are going anywhere. So it's not that just who they're playing, because I think this is an opponent that they can win against for sure, but they just have to win. I mean, this is a conference opponent. They're going to run out of time. We've already talked about what the division situation is. How in the world are they going to take a run for a division? They keep losing at this rate. And I think if they really want to have a conversation about the playoffs, it starts tonight. And if they can get a win, get a long weekend, everybody calm down, you're coming back home, settle everything down, on and off the field a little bit, give it a couple days to breathe, and then I think, settle in and let's see if we can, try to rebuild this season and get it turned back around.
Do you have a prediction for tonight?
I mean, honestly, if we collectively, and I mean the Commanders, were playing better and not committing so many penalties and getting turnovers and just functioning differently, I actually think Washington would win handily tonight based on the rosters and the strengths of the Bears, which really fall right into our strengths, like our run defense. But because Washington hasn't gotten in its own way so many times over the last couple of weeks, it's hard to think that that's what's going to happen. I just look at the talent disparity, and I feel like Washington's going to win one way or another, and hopefully, I don't know, give me 24-16, Washington,
Okay.
something like that. Yeah.
Well, 25 I feel like is the magic number. If you can get over that, it has skewed your way. But Washington has not scored over 20 points in the last few games at all. Only 35 points in the last few games here for Washington. So not characteristic of the offense that they want to have at all. Fantasy football report. Why don't you give us some fantasy starters for tonight?
Let's do Brian Robinson. He's going to get a start tonight.
I like
Bears
that one.
have a really poor rush defense, worst in the league. So let's see if Brian gets a bunch of carries, puts up some numbers, maybe his first NFL touchdown tonight. The guy I would watch on Chicago outside of Montgomery, who's going to get probably a lot of carries tonight, Darnell Mooney. He reminds me a lot of Jahan Dotson, the way he kind of moves off the ball. If he makes big plays, we're in trouble tonight. So if you want to take someone, I would say Mooney with a banged up and altering secondary of Washington tonight.
Yeah, he just had that really crazy one-handed catch, so it goes to show that they do have the ability to have big plays. Of course, we know Washington has struggled in giving up some big plays, so let's hope that, though, is not the key here tonight. Yeah. The Fantasy Football Report is presented by FanDuel. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official partner of the Washington Commanders. Up next, a very frustrated Fritz Moot. It's going to be good, folks. Make sure you join us. He's going to keep it real. You're watching Command Center Game Day live on the Washington Commanders YouTube and social media platforms. And this is the Washington Commanders Football Radio Network.
Oh, hello. Come on, Mr. Sanders. Focus.
Jamie Foxx. What's up, my man?
What up, Barry? Got time to chat bets?
Yeah.
All right, good. So we got Cincy over Cleveland, right?
Boom, there you go.
Mm-hmm. Now, parlay time. Would you put Miami in with L.A., Vegas, and
Oh,
Denver?
no. Terrible.
I was feeling that, though.
What did Jamie Foxx want?
Oh, I've got no idea. Come on, serve it up.
From selecting the perfect produce and triple checking its quality to preparing it for you, we have perfected the art of fresh.
This is Maya Titan. She's smiling because her small culinary supply store, Titan's Pans, is up and running. And this is NFL star Derrick Henry, accidentally tagging Titan's Pans instead of his loyal fans. Which, very unexpectedly, has her business trending. And trending, and trending, and oh my. And there goes the internet. Good thing Maya uses FedEx to help prepare for unexpected demand. Because you never know what's next.
Time now to go around the league, delivered by FedEx, where now meets next.
Is the official Washington Commanders pregame show. Here's Julie Donaldson.
And joining me now from back in Washington, D.C. is none other than Fred Smoot. Fred, we went to break saying that you were quite frustrated. That would be the temperament of this team after losing 4 straight games. But then you also have everything that went on in this week of head coach Ron Rivera saying quarterback is the reason this team has not advanced like the other teams in the division. And that, he said, was part of having a bad day and being frustrated, had to clarify his comments. So, Fred, here we are. Let's clarify it. If you're Carson Wentz, what is the emotion after everything has gone on?
Well, the one thing we know about Carson Wentz, his talent has always been there. It's mostly been the mental part with him. So now tonight will be a test of that mental strength. Tonight will be a mental challenge for him to say, can I push that aside and can I take this criticism and say, you know what, I just need to go out there and do my job that much better. Because let's not get this wrong. He's number 4 in passing in the league right now. He also has 10 touchdowns. So he's very productive. But can you make the play when we need the play to be made with 3 seconds left on the 2-yard line? Can you come make that play for us, Julie? And that's what he needs to answer tonight. I'm sorry. We have, when you look at these teams, you stack these teams, we have the better quarterback in Carson Wentz. When you look at the wide receiving core, we have the better wide receiving core by a long shot. We have the better backfield when it comes to the running back. We have actually the better defense. But as a team, can we put it together for 60 minutes and show them we are the best when it comes to those things?
This team, Washington, has had 18 explosive plays because of the receivers that you just mentioned, Dotson, Terry McLaurin, Curtis Samuel, and unfortunately Logan Thomas is not going to be out there. Jahan Dotson is not going to be out there. But we saw De'Ami Brown even step up. Teams typically against the Bears, they run more than they pass. That's because the Bears are giving up 170 yards on the ground. Teams aren't passing as much on them. Is this a game, though, where you see Washington want to get that run game going and relying more on the run, especially with Brian Robinson being back, or do you see them going once again through the air?
Well, Julie, first of all, I see your hair blowing, your coat blowing, it almost blowing. The wind is almost blowing you down. So at the end of the day, we have no choice but put the ball on the ground. You're right. If you're giving up 160-plus yards on the ground, why not use that ground attack? But one thing that we can do that we haven't been doing is taking advantage of Carson Wentz when it comes to play action. You have to establish the run for that to happen, and then you can hit them on the 60, 70-yard plays on the play action. So if we get that ground game going and having Robinson back and having him start, it's a difference when he runs the ball. He leans forward. You watch him lean on DBs. DBs going out of the game because he's so physical. So if he can establish the run, then hit him with Gibson, then Olympic J.D. McKissick, and then open that passing game up, then we got a chance to be special. I'm sorry. This is a must-win. Not only a must-win, we are the better team. Show that we can show up and beat the team that we're supposed to beat.
Yeah, it is the Bears that have 2 wins, but some would argue that, look, they are very young. They are rebuilding. They are kind of waiting to see where they are this year before they go and make a lot of moves next season as well, where Washington is, by all means, much more established as a team. It's just not clicking for them. The Bears, they don't do as much pressuring on the quarterback. They don't necessarily blitz a whole lot. Could this be a good day for the offensive line and Carson Wentz in that regard?
Yes, they don't do a lot of blitzing, but they do have a 4-man rush that can get after you. They do have 2 legit safety with Eddie Jackson and his running mate from Penn State that can actually go make some plays on the hashes. They do play a lot of generic cover 3, mix in some cover 1. If they feel like you're going to pass, then they're going to cover 2. But what you said earlier, that's all that matters. Can you force their will by running the ball down their throat? And here go the big down for us tonight. 3rd down. Can we complete on 3rd down? We haven't been great on 3rd down all season long, and it's to the point now we can't make any more excuses. We can't make any more excuses for Carson Wentz. We can't make any more excuses for the offense as a whole. Tonight you have to impose your will on this team, because let's think about this. With Justin Fields in that offense, you're talking about the 32nd ranked offense in the league right now. They can't really pass the ball. They can't really run the ball. If you look at Mooney, Donnell Mooney, that number 1 receiver, he would be our number 4 receiver on this team, and St. Brown, and then him and St. Brown would be our number 5 on this team. So like I said, at the end of the day, show us who you are. The real Washington Commanders, please stand up.
Most certainly, their secondary does have the opportunities, a lot of youth as well, where hopefully we could exploit them. But then also, look, we have a different center starting for Washington. Tyler Larson is going to be taking over, so we'll see how quickly he is or is not in sync with Carson Wentz as well. And if they do run pass, they should have their opportunities here for this. Clock management, calling timeouts. What are you seeing on how that is going for Ron Rivera?
I don't think it's a big challenge. I think it's them understanding the situations in the game. I think that what everybody's in the uproars about is when we did the challenge, we lost the timeout, and then we needed that timeout closer to the end of the game. I don't think clock management has been the real problem for this team. I think having a complete 60 minutes from the offense, a complete 60 minutes from the defense, and the special teams is what we're going to need. And tonight, with that wind swirling like it does in Soldier Field, the punt team and Trust Way, mark my word, Trust Way will be very important in this game tonight, because switching the field on punts and kickoffs is going to change this game tonight. Special teams will have a big plan in this tonight.
Yeah, Tress is earning his money lately this season, unfortunately. They only converted 1 third down last week. Their third down conversion rate, to your point, has been absolutely just diminished as each game has gone on here. On defense, they've only got 1 takeaway.
Yeah.
Fred, I don't even. How do you approach that? Change that? What happens to try? Because they are dead last in the league. Every other team has at least 3 and just 1.
Julie, we're making quarterbacks uncomfortable. We're getting to the quarterback. Deron Payne, John Allen, Sweat coming off that ball this week. We're getting to the quarterback. The one thing we ain't doing is when we don't get to the quarterback is making the quarterback uncomfortable. Uncomfortable quarterbacks throw interceptions in this league. Not comfortable quarterbacks. If a quarterback can stare you in your eye, he can complete a pass. We need to make Justin Fields uncomfortable. I'm sorry. This is going to be – he's not – I'm not going to sit here and say Justin Fields can't play in this league. What I'm going to say is if we're going to beat a quarterback to submission, it's going to be this kid because he hasn't got on that level yet where he can dictate the coverage. He hasn't got on that level yet where he can legitimately read coverages. So this is the night to get the ball back and understand it. I understand everything that happened with William Jackson III. Now we got some guys filling in. Danny Johnson stepping up. Some guys going to make some plays tonight. And look for a game from St. Jude's on the outside. And the rest of you guys, like I say, if this cornerback group cannot lock down this group of receivers, we can't check anybody in the league.
You mentioned William Jackson III. Look, he was benched earlier in the last game. Said it was his back. He's not playing tonight. He is inactive, and now there's reports and rumors that he wants to trade and he wants out of here. How are you reading this situation and how his time has gone in Washington?
I kind of felt it. During at the beginning of the year, and I felt it through his whole time here. It looked like he just never got comfortable with the scheme. It looked like he never got comfortable with the teammates. And when you can't get comfortable and be yourself, and you can't get comfortable and give your best, we're not going to get your best. And then here goes another case of going out, getting a product that's not comfortable in the scheme you want to run. Jackson came from a man-to-man scheme. That means he has one man, he has one read. You bring him here, you put him in a zone read scheme, and now he's floating in la-la land and he doesn't know what to do. But you know what? Some divorces are not bad. I think this is going to be a win-win for both sides.
Look, he came in and just struggled trying to learn this scheme. He even said last year that he kind of got in his own way and was, to his own detriment. But anticipated understanding more what was needed of him and thought that the play would be better this year than it has gone so far. So we'll keep a close eye on how that does play out. But he will not be out here tonight trying to help this team. Okay, Fred, we look forward to your post-game. It's going to be a late one, Thursday Night Football, but I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of emotions either way after this game. Thanks, Fred.
Here we are. Go Commanders.
Go Commanders. When we come back, Matt Paris of the Washington Times is going to join us. You're watching Command Center Game Day Live on the Washington Commanders YouTube and social media platforms, and you are listening to Washington Commanders Football.
We did take a tough loss last week because it was very tough. But the way you keep your morale up is by, it works out perfect, right? We got a Thursday game. So we got to get this bad taste out of our mouth, go to Chicago, try to get a W on Thursday Night Football. It's a lot of things that lines up for us to play well. Primetime game, short week. We can change the season around right now.
You're in a fortunate position just to be playing in this league, and it can be taken away from you at any moment. So I just think just the basis of that should get you up in the morning to be able to give your greatest effort. But at the same time, as far as the young guys are concerned, you just try to help them along, knowing that it is a long season. There's going to be ups and downs. You can't necessarily ride the highs and the lows. Just try to stay as consistent as possible.
You don't really want to harp on it too much, but you just got to get back to doing what you know is like playing ball, bro. So at the end of the day, it's just you don't want to sit and just dwell on the past and change things that you can't really, have no control over. So it's just going forward, just keep playing ball. That's all it is.
Lee Donaldson.
Presented by Victory Van Moving and Storage, delivering excellent services for 75 years and a proud partner of the Washington Commanders. Joining me now is Matt Pears of the Washington Times. Okay, Matt, it doesn't seem to ever end here with storylines, and you made a lot of headlines, which usually is not what you're looking to do in this job by asking questions. But your question to head coach Ron Rivera of quarterback in the follow-up. What was when you were going through? What was your kind of initial reaction to how that all played out?
You know, you kind of anticipate all day kind of how people are going to react to some sorts of questions, and that one was shocking. You know, I wasn't expecting him to say quarterback, and you do look at the circumstances and you kind of get it, but at the same time, I don't think it was necessarily true. You know, you look at what Dallas has done. They've really built their defense. New York is in a new system. They really haven't had that continuity with their offense as maybe some other teams in the division have. So it is a little bit surprising, but I don't necessarily think it was a clear shot at Carson Wentz either.
No, I don't necessarily see so either. And Coach said he clarified that. He talked to the team. They moved beyond it, and they're now focusing in here on the game. Not much time to be able to turn it around from Sunday night to Thursday night. You've been in the locker room talking to a lot of different players, and I think every single player was asked about it. Is it a distraction to them, though? I mean, I feel like this team at times is built a little differently than maybe other teams in the league.
I mean, I do think it is a distraction, not just with the quarterback, but with everything else that's happened. And you look at it, and, you know, Ron Rivera prides himself on getting his players ready to play, and this is a game where they really, really need that. You know, they're 1-4. Jonathan Allen said 1-5 would basically be a disaster, that they 1,000% need a win, and it's a must-win for them, and so we'll see if they can do it.
We're going to see part of that would be probably the run game.
Yeah.
Brian Robinson Jr. making his return, Antonio Gibson. Do we anticipate Gibson maybe moving to kickoff returns now that B-Rob is back?
It's definitely a possibility, and, you know, Brian Robinson is supposed to get the start tonight. It'll be interesting to see how much they rely on the run game, because last game was pretty close. They could have run the ball a little bit more, but they still threw 38 times. So, you know, there are opportunities. I know Ron Rivera would like to run the ball more. It's just a matter of, do they actually go to it?
Yeah, and it's very windy here, of course. And look, Brian Robinson took kind of like the majority of a lot of the snaps last week as well. Are you anticipating him being maybe like that main go-to guy for this game? Because we know that they will give you your opportunities. 170 rush yards a game is what they give up.
Yeah, no, definitely. And, you know, you kind of saw it last week with Robinson getting those reps over Gibson. And, you know, where Robinson kind of he thrived in short yardage situations. It's just a matter, can he rip off those 5-6 yards runs? That's what this offense has been missing, and that's hard to do, but he looked like that type of running back in training camp.
The run game, despite that, felt like it struggled potentially a little bit. Was that just the game that they were playing them, and is that going to be something that could be righted today against this team?
I do, and I think we've seen it with this offense. You know, you did see Antonio Gibson and the running game have success against Dallas. That was really the only thing that was working at that game. For Washington, it's just a matter of, you know, they've had their stretches where at times the deep pass is working, the quick game is working, and the running back is working, but they haven't been able to piece it together all at the same time, and that's kind of what they need in this one.
What is it about the Bears that concerns you tonight?
Yeah, you know, they're a group that has, you know, had a little bit more success than expected. They have Matt Eberflus, a defensive-minded head coach. That's a coach that knows Carson Wentz well. He was the defensive coordinator in Indianapolis last year. So does he know Carson Wentz inside and out? Does that give the Bears an advantage? That's something that I'd look for, more so the Bears' defense, because I don't think this offense is necessarily built to be one of the elite units in the NFL.
I know he said that it can be an advantage because you do know Carson, and he said he loves him as a man as well in his time with the Colts. But he said it can also be something that could be a detriment because it could have you overthinking maybe too much as well, and he's in a different system here when it comes to that. Look, Justin Fields is a quarterback that is not afraid to use his legs on the ground. The challenge to try, do you see this team being able to limit him in his run game?
Yeah, you know, they've had that. They've faced those type of running back or sort of type of quarterbacks before with their run game. You know, Jalen Hurts, he was more effective through the air than his legs. They did a good job at kind of limiting him on the ground. But you think back to last season, even a guy like Daniel Jones had big games against Washington. So it is something that they're going to have to be careful of because, you know, their goal should be for Fields to throw the ball as much as possible.
He does have the ability. We did see where he now has used his arm. They've kind of allowed a little bit more of that. I don't know how much the weather may or may not impact with the wind here. But there's a shakeup in the secondary for Washington. As William Jackson III is inactive, he's not going to be out there, and rumors say that he wants out of here. But how do you see the secondary kind of holding up together with his absence?
Yeah, I think the big thing is, how well do they limit the explosive plays? Does that actually change anything in terms of, are they giving up explosives? But, it was kind of I thought it was a positive to move Benjamin St. Juste to the outside. That looks like his more natural position. But they did give up that 60-yarder to Tennessee, and that kind of changed the game last week, and that was after Jackson's benching. So we'll have to see how they respond.
Those explosive plays, it just feels like for all that they do in locking down, you just give up one or two. And we thought that the communication was going to be better this year. Why do you think that that's not?
Yeah, I don't know. It might just be a personnel thing, because that was the risk that they faced by bringing everyone back. I mean, outside of Landon Collins, this is largely the same defense from last year. I know Chase Young isn't playing, but he's not in the secondary. So, it is an issue that they've had to sort through, and they really haven't been all that successful doing it so far.
As far as injuries, Logan Tom is still not out there. Jahan Dotson still not out there. Maybe another day from De'Ami Brown. Do we get Terry McLaurin going a little bit earlier?
Yeah, we'll have to see. I mean, it'll be really interesting to see if Brown can carry. That was probably the most unexpected thing from that game last week, is just his 2 catches for 105 yards. So we'll have to see. But, yeah, they need Terry McLaurin in this offense. He's had an okay year, but slow to get involved to start these games.
I think he just needs 85 yards to pass Charlie Brown to have as many yards to start a season. And he's going to be blowing past Gary Clark for sure. We just got to be able to make sure we do get him the ball. And he's averaging, 17.2 yards per catch when he does do that, which is third amongst in the league. So he is the guy you just paid a lot of money to get him going early and often. Matt Paris, thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate it, and we'll hopefully be writing about a victory, things turning around. That is what something really needs some good positivity around this franchise right now. Matthew Paris of the Washington Times. I sat down with Brian Robinson Jr. after he made his debut, and he didn't really hold back on those emotions and where he feels he is in his career and being back on the field. We're going to bring you that conversation next. You are watching Command Center Game Day Live on the Washington Commanders YouTube and social media platforms, and this is the Washington Commanders Football Radio Network.
Pizza, better with Pepsi.
Finding the Honda you really want just got easier. With a longer limited warranty, so long. And complimentary oil changes within the first year. You've never been more at peace than with Honda Certified Pre-Owned.
You ever wonder why people are always on their phones? They're banking with Bank of America. Look at this guy. He bought those tickets on his credit card, and he's racking up the rewards.
She's using Zelle to pay him back for the hot dogs he's about to buy.
That's going to bring it to
And
a
the
close here
announcer?
after 3.
He's not checking the stats. He's finding some investment ideas with Merrill.
And third, as you know, in baseball means 3.
Digital tools so impressive, you just can't stop banking. What would you like the power to do?
Washington Commanders football is back, and so is our BOGO. On game day, buy 1 large pizza and get a 2nd large pizza for free. Order online or download the app today. Paisanos, official pizza partner of the Washington Commanders.
Two truths and a lie. Tell me which one is the truth and which one are the lie. I once held the NCAA record for most career rushing touchdowns by a quarterback.
All right.
I hold the NFL record for most rushing yards in a game by a player with 3 attempts or less. My career 13 touchdowns returning are the most in NFL history.
The returns, I think that's true. 3 yards or less, I feel like that's very unique. You know what I mean? That's not really something you can make up. I'm gonna go with the first one about most rushing touchdowns
Is that the truth?
That's a lie. That's a lie.
That's a lie? Well, that one is the truth. 2 carries for 105 yards, 85 yard and a 20-yarder.
Yeah, that's not something you can make up.
And the 13th NFL career touchdown is false. Hester ended up breaking that.
Oh. I was thinking for the time. I didn't. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You guys pull one on me.
We are brought to you by Window Nation. Buy 2 windows, get 2 free, and pay nothing until 2025. Visit windownation.com. Well, after being shot twice in the leg in late August, Brian Robinson Jr. finally made his NFL debut on Sunday. It was quite a welcoming. I had the opportunity to talk with Brian in a one-on-one conversation. Here that is. Being the last one out of the tunnel, having your name called, what were the emotions and that moment like for you?
It was very emotional. I just didn't want to find myself crying about it at the time. You know, I'm a tough guy, man. You know, and I just try to show people how tough I am all the time. You know, sometimes I know I can let up off of it and just ease up, but man, it's been a long 6 weeks, man. I don't think, man. It's really hard to kind of talk about sometimes because like ever since just the videos and stuff been dropped since yesterday, you know, social media just kind of been going crazy about it, and you know, I just see it over and over again, and it's just, you just see how much love and respect, you know, people got for me out here, and you know, people that feel the situation that I've been through, man, and, you know, just for it to be me, I'm just like, God, this couldn't happen to anybody, and it's like, man, if anybody, the worst person this possibly could have happened to, it could have been me. Like, just because of just everything I've been through in my life to get here, and like, I ain't really want to get into depth, like in detail about just like how my life was growing up, but you know, just staying away from gun violence and stuff like that goes on very often back at home, and you know, what happened to me was just so random, you know, so to be able to recover from what I recovered from and be able to come back and play an NFL football game, I ain't never heard nobody in the world ever did nothing like that before. So just from recovering from what I went through just made history, you know, so.
I imagine you probably asked yourself the question, like, why me? Just listening to you right there. And the different emotions that do come with that. How have you, does that make you feel better? How have you processed going through all those emotions and answering why me and being, as you say, mentally tough? I know there have to be moments that you're probably just not, and you have to acknowledge and recognize that in order to be mentally tough. How have you gone about processing that?
I just had to accept it, you know. I had to accept what happened, you know, even though I didn't want to. I didn't want to accept the fact that, you know, I was physically harmed by some strangers, but just the fact that, you know, I could make the strongest recovery ever and one of the biggest comebacks in sports history possibly, and you know, just another obstacle for me, you know, in my life, man. I just, like I told you, I've been faced with so much in my life, and every time I've just had my back against the wall, I've just fought my way up out of it. And like I said, like, this is by far the worst situation I've ever been in, but another opportunity to kind of prove to myself, you know how strong I am, you know, mentally and physically. So the biggest thing, you know, just as far as processing it right now is just accepting the fact that, you know, I was physically harmed by strangers, you know, that I still haven't identified yet, and the fact that I got to just live with that the rest of my life, you know.
We saw your mom at the game, and the way that just like the teammates greeted you on the field, understanding the journey that you've had to kind of get back here and to get into the game. How important has that support been? Because nobody gets through anything or any challenges alone in life.
And the support meant everything, as soon as I started to feel the love and from everybody, I started to, believe that, I would be okay, because at the time you just like, you mentally just everywhere. You don't really know where to be mentally, but like, the support from the people that, you care about the most and that care about you the most is, it kind of make you feel like, you good, you're gonna be all right, just kind of keep you grounded and, keep you mentally in the places that you need to be to, take the next steps. And that helped me, just kind of already, have a plan on how I wanted to recover from that and what I needed to do to come back and, just constantly like, keeping that energy, like bringing that good positive energy that I needed consistently, like, day in and day out. Those days where, I was coming up to the facility for, probably an hour, 2 hours out of the day. I would go home and I would have to like stay in the same place on the couch for like the rest of the day because I couldn't move. Mm-hmm. So, having my mom, my family back at home, support me and take care of me for that time, and they don't realize how much I appreciate that because that was the helping hand that I needed to, just want to push myself forward. Like, and I'm a very independent person, so I like to do everything for myself. So, having a helping hand, it was kind of new to me. Having somebody like have to really take care of me, like every single day, like for the whole day. Just like my mom was taking care of me again, like I was 4 or 5 years old. So, that meant everything to me. Like that's all I really needed was some support. I had the ambition to fight back from it. But the love, support just kind of kept me motivated.
How's the body feel now? Now that you've gone through that first game, you've taken some hits. Everybody's closely watching how you walk, how you run. How's it feeling?
Well, I feel like I just played a football game, so, I took a few hits, but I walked away from it fine. I'm okay. I actually got hit right in the spot of, one of my injuries, but it didn't bother me too bad. I shook it off and finished.
Does that
the rest
become
of the
a
game.
mental thing as well when you get hit there?
It was positive for me because I got hit there so hard that that was the test that I needed. I was like, okay, I'm glad that's over. Hopefully it don't happen again so soon, but that was just the test I needed. When I got hit it and I got up and I felt it, I was like, it stung a little bit, but I'll be all right. So the fact that I walk off the field healthy and come back, return here and get ready to do it all over again healthy.
Do you see the game any differently now?
I can say, just my presence out there, I almost lost that opportunity. So, everything is just light, bright light up in my eyes now. I've been playing the game for so long. I've been playing for almost 18 years, of my life. So, it's just always been football to me. But now it's it's really my life, and I realize how much that I put into this game and into bonding through this game, and it just meant so much to me. Just be back out there for.
So what's next for you?
What's next? I just want to, keep, making progress, making strides in the right direction. Coming here every day, finding new ways to get better, get my body feeling better, get more involved into the game plan week in and week out, and just to help my team win for real.
Great to have you back. I know the teammates love having you back. We're expecting some great things now that you're out there. So
great.
Glad to have you here with us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bring it up, bring it up.
is the one who's cornered. I don't gotta say nothing to y'all. This gonna be the night that we look back in December and January. That changed our season. For better, for worse, we get to decide that today. That's the great thing about this game. We decide what we do. I'm not with the rah-rah. I'm not yelling in our street. We grown men. And we know what we got to do today. I'm going to challenge y'all to do one thing. See how good we can be for one day. We haven't done that yet. Offense, how good can y'all be when y'all don't turn the ball over? Don't make no mistake. How good can y'all truly be? Defense, we ain't giving no gift. How good can we be for one day? You can get lucky one. But how good can we be today? I'm going to challenge each group to do that. Special teams, we feeding off y'all energy. Y'all know how we coming. Remember, we play together, we stay together. And after the night, we on a roll. Hey, bring it up. Hey, dominate on 3. 1, 2, 3. Dominate.